Richard Bandler, a computer science and mathematical programmer, and John Grinder, a linguist theorist, studied the processes used by expert therapists Virginia Satir, Fritz Perls, Paul Watzlawick, and Milton Erickson. Bandler and Grinder's goal was to uncover the processes used by these experts, some of who primarily used hypnosis, and formalize them into meta-programs that could be taught to others. NLP encompasses aspects from psychodynamic, behavioral, cognitive, and humanistic theories. It is the selection, integration, and modification of these various components that is of interest in this model. A theme common to most writings on NLP is learning to use your mind to develop excellence. Neuro stands for your thinking process, the way you use your senses to understand what is happening around you. It is how we think, how we code our experiences in our mind, and how our thinking affects our result and experience. Linguistic stands for your words, the way you use your language and how it influences you and those around you. It is understanding the mind and its language, using the right language in the right context, using both verbal and nonverbal communication, and how to use body language and its effect. Programming is your behavior, the way you organize your ideas and actions, which produce expected and unexpected results. It is installing transformational strategies for thinking, using the most successful thought patterns to program desired outcomes, and learning how to use your brain to achieve excellence in all walks of life. Humans create representations of the real world that they use to guide their behavior. These representations are different from all that exists in reality because our senses and cognitive processing of information necessarily delete and distort signals from the environment. These representations of the world are not only different from the world itself, but they are unique to each individual because we have our own filters that we employ as we experience the world. NLP is a model based on how humans create and use these representations of the real world. The language of the client and the form of communication with the support consultant are key to NLP techniques. This communications map constructed by NLP is based on the transformational grammar of the linguist Noam Chomsky. Chomsky hypothesized that each person has an innate deep structure, which are the categories and models in their mind. Each person then learns the surface structure, that is the words, syntax, and pragmatics of their own language. NLP teaches a support consultant how to translate their own individual deep structure, the basis of their thought, to a common surface structure like American English. NLP also instructs the consultant to be aware of how the athlete might interpret the words in their own meaning or deep structure. With these methods, the consultant is assisted by the NLP model and is more able to create effective communication. Communication is the goal and method of all consulting, and NLP provides methods to make sure the process is effective and works. The 8 presumptions of NLP. 1. The ability to change the process by which we experience reality is more often valuable than the changing the content of our experiences of reality. 2. The meaning of the communication is the response you get. 3. All distinctions human beings are able to make concerning our environment and our behavior can be usefully represented through the visual, auditory, kinesthetic, olfactory, and gustatory senses. 4. The resources an individual needs in order to effect a change are already within them. 5. The map is not the territory. 6. The positive worth of the individual is held a constant, while the values and the appropriateness of the internal and external behavior is questioned. 7. There is a positive intention motivating every behavior, and a context in which every behavior has value. 8. Feedback versus failure. All results and behaviors are achievements, whether they are desired outcomes for the given task, context, or not. Many NLP techniques are designed to promote congruence between the message sent and the message received. The saying from NLP is that the map is not the territory. Therefore, the sport consultant is not interested in the absolute truth, but is more concerned with how the athlete constructs or forms their own truth. An example of this principle is the technique of reframing. From an NLP perspective, the consultant can be effective by altering the perception of the athlete. An athlete can choose to look at a negative performance as a failure, or it can be seen as a form of feedback. This common NLP reframe sees a challenge as feedback on how to improve rather than a loss that has no hope for redemption. NLP also provides methods to help athletes develop strategies for competitions that they believe in and will use. The consultant will learn ways to use the brain processes and language style of the athlete to install strategies in the behavioral repertoire of the player. For instance, the consultant might use imagery to create a deep emotion of hope and optimism in an athlete. The NLP technique of anchoring can be used to develop a cue, like a simple hand position, so the athlete can bring back the feeling easily in times of adversity by repeating the hand motion. NLP has been critiqued because empirical data has not found that the eye positions have been verified. The detail of the NLP model has not been substantiated by research studies. The inventors of the model did not want to be evaluated at the level of a theory, therefore NLP is considered a model. This means that NLP is not falsifiable, but has some anecdotal evidence that it works. For instance, the eye accessing cues are not exact, but they are unique for each person. A good NLP practitioner will calibrate each individual client and discover their individual eye accessing patterns and not just apply the cues from the charts. Every person is different, but each individual has a consistent level of response that can be determined by a trained consultant. The conclusion is the evidence on the empirical level is not in support of NLP as an evidence-based practice, but it is considered a promising practice which can be an asset in the repertoire of a sport consultant. Bandler and Grinder prefer to call NLP a model rather than a theory because a model is simply a description of how something works without any commitment regarding why it might be that way. Here is what they have to say. NLP is a model of how to improve communication. I will use NLP techniques to ensure congruence in communication. NLP gives the sport consultant the ability to make sure the message they want to send is the one received by the athlete. Many problems in consulting relationships are due to miscommunication, and NLP can reduce this by helping the consultants read nonverbal cues and linguistic factors. One of the fundamental aspects of NLP that relates to sports psychology is the idea of representational systems. Knowing whether an athlete is operating in the visual mode, the auditory mode, or the kinesthetic mode enables the consultant to gain rapport with the client. This can help the consultant to speak the language of the athlete. When a consultant knows the representational system, they can propose interventions that speak to what is important to the particular athlete. For instance, one pole vaulter needs to concentrate on the feel of the pool and the exertion put forth in the run down the lane, while for another, more auditory vaulter, the sound of the crowd or the self-talk may be of the utmost importance.